Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Red Reaction Show from the LFC Daytrippers, where we're going to talk about Leipzig 0, Liverpool 2 in the Champions League tonight. And I'm delighted to be joined tonight by Gar, by Chris, and by Paul. And we're going to go through the game. We're going to go through the main talking points and the lineups, and just try and dissect as much as we can. It's always good to do these shows after a win, and what's, it's been a rarity over the last while, but a good performance by the Reds tonight, and it's put a bit of pep back in the step, I'd say. Gar, I'm going to come to you. How did you find the build up to the game? We'll come on to the actual game itself and the lineup, but we probably all haven't done a pod in a while, but how have you been feeling about Liverpool coming into the game?
Yeah, like everyone, I suppose that the negatives are flying around. The forwarded many times WhatsApp messages of the insiders and all that sort of jazz. But I suppose one thing jumped out at me, it was yesterday, Keith, was Henderson's interview. I suppose the psychology behind it. He looked so relaxed in it, and was even laughing and joking about the WhatsApp messages going around. And to me, it sort of told something that the things are good in the camp, considering all that's been going on, I suppose, results-wise. For the captain, supposed to be so calm and not defensive, because you could understand them being defensive in front of the media as well, with all the losses and the bad form we've gone through. But he wasn't. It was so relaxed to me, and it sort of, to me, I thought, right, is this where we turn a corner? Have they had sat down finally? And we've heard they've had team meetings, but see, that interview to me seemed to be the one where things looked certainly more promising from a standpoint of an interview, whereas the last few weeks they've been very defensive.
Yeah, they have. They've been very spiky. Paul, I'll come to you next. The same sort of question. How did you feel coming into this? Did you think that those as Gar touched on, the press conference yesterday, and we spoke on the Fatback 4 the other night about Salah putting out his tweet, that we're all in this. Did you get a sense that not that the tide has turned, it's one game, it's one performance, but were you confident going into this one, or were you still a bit sceptical?
I was still a little bit sceptical, but I thought things were heading in the right direction. Based on what Gar was saying about the press conferences, I actually really like Jurgen's press conference as well. The way they just come out completely, just handled everything out in the open, kind of just put everything to bed. And to be honest, like Mo's Instagram post, I thought was fantastic. It was like, that is what you want to see. And, it demonstrated passion, it demonstrated commitment. And, I've been kind of, indulging my sort of mild fascination with like journalists who are just robbing a living. And it's just so easy to write the obituaries and start throwing the owners under the bus, start throwing, Jurgen under the bus, throwing the players under the bus, that kind of thing. And it was just really nice that when they smelt blood, we didn't give them a thing. And we've given them a performance to kind of match like the demonstration of, as Gar was saying with Jordan, with, that composure, professionalism, not panicking even though things aren't going our way, and almost like getting through it by taking it seriously but not taking it too seriously, I think was an incredibly positive sign, and I think that kind of manifested in the performance tonight.
Indeed. And Chris, again, before we go on to the game, we spoke, as I said, about Salah putting out his message as well, and the significance of it coming from Salah, whereas we hear that sort of sentiment from the likes of Henderson, from Robbo, a rallying call nearly, and for Salah to do that, it was significant as well. And it showed that, all the team meetings they've been having, all the, clearing the air and probably getting down to the nuts and bolts of what's been going wrong. It seemed like the right sort of rallying cry at the right time. How did you find it?
It's a bit easy now because we won, but it struck of players taking responsibility and probably taking a bit of pressure off a manager who's got a lot on his plate on and off the pitch at the moment. And like you say, with Salah, he doesn't tweet very often. He doesn't speak very often. So when he does, while he may not speak outwardly to us, he is like one of Klopp's generals. One of his leaders. So it does make a point. And then while Henderson was relaxed in his interview, and he still had there was a bit of steeliness to it, which was the key phrase was, the manager's great, he protects us all the time. He can't protect us anymore. We need to step up. We need to do this. Stop the injury talk. We're going to crack on. Which is, look, words are great. I mean, I still wanted the game quite apprehensive because, this is a very good Leipzig side. Second in the Bundesliga, and they've got some really good players and some hell of a talent on the bench. And, we handled them very well. So I've been a bit apprehensive, but you have been seeing glimpses of this. I know people don't want to hear it because you got beat by Leicester, you got beat by City, so nobody wants to hear it. But in the Leicester and City games, there were large spells where Liverpool actually controlled what they need to do and did things really well. But in both games, they had a mad 10 minutes, which killed them, absolutely killed them. Whereas today, there were incidences where we could have gone behind, and we got that bit of luck where, like the Hwang shot right at the end. Last 3 or 4 weeks, that's going in. Going in all day long. Today, he gets it wide. And sometimes that's just a little breaks, a little fine margin that you need to go for. But no, it was good to see that everyone's sort of stepping up. I think Mane's got a bit. I think it's a bit similar to Salah. He doesn't speak very often either. So I was expecting someone like a Mane as well to possibly come out and say something. But look, I was hopeful for tonight we get something. The performance today was brilliant.
Yeah, indeed. And you touched on it there, Chris, and it's an excellent point. A lot of people are dismissing Leipzig and are saying, they're not a great team. United nearly got back at them, all this sort of stuff. But they're a confident team, and as you said, they're second in the Bundesliga. They're a good side. They play a certain way, and they have a system that works for them, and they're quite adaptable when they change their system. So they sort of chop and change their formation, and they're a very, very good team. They're in midfielders especially, I think they're very strong. Campbell and Sabitz are very, very good players in there. And Haidara, he's constantly running. He looks a good player, So it was a tough one. So I'm going to move on to the lineups, lads. And Gar, I'll come back to you. What did you make of our starting 11 tonight? Were you surprised by that, or was it as expected?
No, for me, as expected, Keith, or if Milner had been available, I would have thought experience-wise he might have been thrown in there. But for me, he was never going to take Henderson out of centre half. To be honest with you, lads, let's be honest here. Kabak was probably going to start centre half after starting the weekend, obviously because he settled in a slight bit more. Excellent, by the way, tonight. I was critical of some of his recovery runs the weekend, but really, really solid performance tonight. No, Keith, everything sort of fell into place. I know we'll touch on player performances during the game, and I have to say there was some players who really stepped up tonight, considering the last while, and I suppose we'll touch on that in a while, but. No, Kate, nothing unexpected, to be honest with you.
Chris, I'll come to you now. So the lineup is the lineup. It's the same as Leicester with the Milner and THIAGO change, isn't it? So it's the same as that. Were you expecting it to be along those lines, or did you think you might have tried something different with the fact that Leipzig are not they're not a 4-4-2, 4-3-3 type of team? Did you expect that lineup, or are you of the opinion that there's not really too much else you can do?
No, I think that was the lineup. The only discussion you ever heard was, do you throw Davis in? But politely, he's a lad who's been playing in the Championship. Now, he could end up being like the next Robbo for us, which I hope he is. But ultimately, he's a guy in his mid-20s who's played Championship football. Now, politely, we've got a Championship level player in Phillips, and we don't trust him. And also, he's just come back from an injury. He couldn't get on the bench against Leicester because he picked up some sort of knock. Now he's back. It just felt like one risk too many. I think you had to have Henderson's experience. It did concern me because in these sort of games, you want a Henderson or a Fabinho in midfield, but it was a bit of a needs-must situation. And in fairness, I thought Curtis Jones and Gino Allo were excellent today. That's probably the best Curtis Jones has played for a while. For a lad who's got, I think, a lot of unfair shit off people, and I think people need to realise he's 20. Yeah. And I think a lot of people need to wake up. This is a 20-year-old doing what he's doing. And there's no way Liverpool expected him to play this many games this season. But, he's took his opportunity. And his strength is also his weakness. He does hold the ball too much. But he held the ball so much today. The amount of free kicks he won to take pressure off, to get us up the pitch. What's happened early on in the season is, unfortunately, he wasn't getting the foul and it was leading to an attack. But, I thought lineup was as it was, and I thought Jones really took his chance. Can't knock him at all. I thought he did really well.
Yeah, and Paul, the the lineup, the defense picked itself. I suppose the front three picked itself. The midfield, I've touched on Leipzig's midfield three there. They're a dangerous one. Were you concerned about the midfield going into the game, or were you confident that recent performances for let's say THIAGO haven't been glowing? Genie looks like he's been running through jam for maybe the last few weeks. It's not been as maybe good as it has been, but were you confident that they could have done it in Europe tonight, like a different competition? And I'm saying that in the sense that THIAGO looks to have struggled with the quickness maybe of the Premier League, the officiating in the Premier League where they're throwing yellow cards in so quick into them, and Jones has had games where he's not been able to impact it. But did you think Europe was a game made for this midfield three?
I did, very much so. I think it was a game made for Liverpool Football Club with where they're at right now. To be honest, I think we needed the change of scene. I think we needed that fresh kind of clean slate, if you will. And I think in Europe, you'll generally get teams that haven't really found out our style of play, and will give us a bit more space, which will play into the likes of THIAGO, even though I've had some pretty brutal criticism of him in the last few weeks. I thought he did okay today. I still think he might be a square peg in a round hole for us long term, quite frankly, and I'm not convinced that he's going to be a success at Liverpool Football Club based on what I've seen so far. And again, we can go into midfield threes and stuff like that, but to be honest, the ones that really stood out for me today were, as Chris was saying, was Ginny in particular, his work rate. But it wasn't just the work rate, it was the intensity. The snap and the challenge was there. We were very, very keen on getting the ball back. I saw Henderson's post-match comments where he said he thought the press worked really, really well. And I think Ginny was absolutely instrumental in that. But I definitely think Europe is actually starting to set itself up quite well for us this season, because we've got a style of play that continental teams in Europe don't like, and they're not quite sure how to handle it. Where I think in the Premier League, I think one or two teams have started to really show a bit of a template on how to play against us and how to kind of get round our system. I don't think the rest of Europe's caught up, so I think it does bode well. But honestly, going into tonight, I would have preferred Milner in there if he was fit, just to give that intensity and stuff. But I think in the main, I thought our midfield really did quite well tonight, but they were given the space to do so as well, as on top of a good performance.
Yeah, so Gar, the first half, it kicks off. We're lined up a formation a lineup that I thought was as good as we could have done looking at the bench. And even if Milner had been fit, I disagree with Paul there. I think, THIAGO in these games are you'll see him coming to the fore, I think, in these. And Curtis, as was said, he held the ball. He looked, he'll draw fouls in Europe. He doesn't panic on the ball, which is great. So the game starts off. What did you make of the start by Liverpool, Gar? How did you think we got in?
First 23 minutes, Keith, the game was so open. It was end to end, and for a neutral, if you're looking at that, you're going, geez, what a start to a game. You probably thought there was going to be loads of goals. And I thought Genie was quietly effective in regards to just retaining the ball, win the ball back, giving it simple. I thought THIAGO, lads, for as you've just said, Keith, it was so suitable for him tonight, because if you think about it, there's so much risk to play forward balls tonight that he hasn't had in the Premiership, because obviously of teams sitting that bit deeper. Jones is in there to carry the ball forward because he can do it at pace. He keeps the ball very well. There was one instance down the right hand side where he attacks and he holds it up well and he brings Trent into play. So he's in there for that reason, to break the lines a bit and to give something effectiveness going forward, where THIAGO hasn't got that pace, let's be honest. But he's so good positionally wise and his passing range at times. You can see it. He's spraying the ball. He's not even looking at times. I thought they were really good as well to start off, Keith. Very impressive, so fast. The first thing that I suppose in the first half an hour that jumped out to me, Keith, about them was they were really like a lead side, weren't they? There was defenders popping on the midfield. There was Angelino was playing as a left-sided forward at times, and then they adapted to sometimes to a two at the back. I saw two centre halves where someone I wouldn't allow go to drop into midfield as cluster man because it was on all day that he couldn't recover. 3 times in the first half, we caught him out with balls around the side of him. So they were very, very impressive to watch. Nagelsmann is not a lot of people's cup of tea. I've been very impressed with him. We've been lucky to see him on a training ground and see what he does. He's impressed me a lot. For a young, let's not forget, lads, the guy's a kid in regards to coaching teams, and is doing a huge job with an up and coming side in Europe. So very, very impressed, Keith, at the first half. Considering what we've been going through, with a lot more risk in our forward play. There was a lot more passes going in behind defenders, that we haven't seen in a couple of weeks. The front three were pressing so heavily at times, and I haven't seen them doing that in a long time. Firmino sort of dropped into a midfield position at times. So now he nearly scores the diving header, which would have been a great goal, by the way. But really impressed with us first half, Keith, compared to what we've watched, I suppose, in the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, indeed. So Chris Gard touched on it there. It was a very open start to the game. There was chances for both teams. Did you feel, confidence isn't really high among the Liverpool fan base and among the Liverpool team at the moment? They hit the post with a header, almost hits the post. Did you think they were starting to get a foothold at that stage, Chris, or was it just one of them sort of slugfests that was looking like it was going to be?
Yeah, it was a bit of a mad over 20 minutes. The good thing for us was the one that hit the post, because I think that I do worry with Liverpool at the moment is I think if we'd gone 1-0 down, I think with what's gone on recently, I think that might have been a bit of a mental killer. My only real concern in the first half was a bit like I thought after the first half of Leicester was we've played well, we've actually dominated the ball pretty well, we've created chances, we haven't took them, and we haven't had that bit of luck for it to take. And that was always that worry in the back of my head going, we've seen this pattern before the last couple of games, is when we don't take our chance when we're on top, there's always a susceptibility of us catching something else. So that was my only real niggle. I mean, if the Robson goal goes in, you're talking about it for weeks. It was unfortunately it actually fell to a left footer. If it fell to a right footed player, he could have hit that probably a bit quicker. But great effort.
He got it out of his feet quick enough, considering he's a left full. You know what I mean? That's not renowned maybe for striking from distance. But yeah, I take it on board. He was on the wrong side nearly. Yeah. And he takes it on.
That falls straight to his left foot. I think it's one very quick touch, and to be honest, he just gets it off a bit quicker. But I mean, look, we're talking inches. He wasn't far away at all. But for me, that was good for Robson. It's a bit of confidence, because he's probably, like both fullbacks, struggled for a bit of confidence, and quite impressed he took it on. Because I'll be honest, I didn't think he'd take it on. I thought he'd look to play a simple pass, which you wouldn't have blamed him for. So I quite like that bit of confidence that we are taking stuff on, that a bit of risk that we haven't been doing recently, a bit more risk football, which I think is when Liverpool are at the best. They play with risk. And, I know we haven't got much reward recently, but our best play is with risk.
Yeah. Indeed it is. Paul, the first half is going on. There's chances, as we said. Leipzig hit the post. Robertson has a chance. Salah has a chance with that. Golashi makes a good save on. And then we had the header that Firmino gets. It was unlucky, it was just out of play. Mane with a bit of quick thinking. Were you impressed with us in the first half in the performance, even though the goals didn't come?
Yeah, I think so. Because I mean, again, like going back to the Leicester game, and even a bit of a theme, like in the games where we've lost recently. Let's be honest, we haven't played that bad. It's like been certain things that haven't fallen into place, and then errors compounding has been the main problem. I mean, I think most of us had literally no problem with the way that we played for 75 minutes against Leicester, and it was very reminiscent here. I think the number one thing that I'm getting from the last couple of games is that we're playing the game higher up the pitch again. And that has been absolutely vital for us, because we've been speaking about this like ad nauseum since Van Dijk went out, that we have to play the game 10 yards further back, and it just invites teams onto us, and it doesn't suit us at all. And, you know, the results are there for all to see. I really think that's one of the things that Kabak allows us to do, is to just play that game a little bit further up the pitch. He's getting used to the system, definitely. But after 2 games, I think he's really starting to contribute now. And I've been really, really impressed with him in a lot of different ways. And not just for his individual performance. It's just that we get back a little bit of that high line that we're used to, and we can start to squeeze teams a little bit more. And I think that was happening in the first half. And yeah, the way, like, you know, Leipzig kind of hit the post and everything else. And I mean, I think on some replays it looks like Alisson got a finger to that, so you could almost call that a really good save from Alisson as well. So, you know, there's a lot of pluses, but like as Chris said, we're always at our best when we're kind of not riding our luck, but we know there's risk involved, and there's like that no risk, no reward kind of situation. So I definitely think we were impressive in the first half, and we definitely took that momentum into the second half.
We did. At half time, I was watching it on Irish TV, and Damien Duff was in the studio, and he was talking about how Liverpool were much more comfortable getting through the Leipzig press than Leipzig were getting through the Liverpool press. Which was a good point, and Kev O'Sullivan has been beating the drum in the chat there tonight about the front three. You know, we were defending from the front, from the off tonight, and it does set a tone. But you made an excellent point there, Paul, about having Kabak in there and what it does to the other players. I said this on the Fatback 4 on Sunday. You know, having a centre-back who's a centre-back alongside Jordan Henderson, who his organisational skills are excellent, is being able to sort of talk and guide someone through a game. It's one of the best in the squad, and to have him there, it allowed the fullbacks to attack more, which we haven't been doing. And Gar, I'm going to come to you. You know, it's been an issue, hasn't it, that Trent and Robbo haven't been able to play their game. So we've been so one-dimensional lately that it's been easy to play against us, because we haven't been brave, we haven't been risking it, as the lad said. But you can see, even against Leicester, I thought we were excellent for 75 minutes of that game, and then had just a spell where it just all went wrong for us. But do you think that the fullbacks getting into more attacking positions is going to be a benefit to us for the rest of the season?
I saw it at times against Leicester, but we still reverted back to a very safe shape of a back 4. But tonight I spotted a huge difference in the Keith. The lads are playing a hell of a lot higher. I don't think Kabak's recovery pace is as quick as we all would like to think. But as you've just said, a natural defender who knows his position. You're not playing 2 midfielders there that their mindset is totally different. Henderson has done a really good job there. Let's not step away from that. He's done a really, really good job there. But you still want to see him in midfield at the end of the day, because you know he gives you in there that intensity. But tonight with his passing range, Keith, he was like Van Dijk at times playing there. Some of his range out to Trent at times was unbelievable. But listen, he's not going to get that praise. Irish TV, again, we're trying to knock it at times. He's this and he's that. But listen, the guy's done a great job. In fairness to Irish TV, Duffer actually said he's got down as a legend for what he's done. So, it's huge. But listen, getting back to it. The shape was a hell of a lot better tonight, Keith. We've just spoken about the forward passes, a hell of a lot better tonight. The midfield 3 were huge tonight. I thought in the first half, the first 35-40 minutes, we'd lost that bit of shape midfield. The gap between midfield and defence was quite high. But the lads settled into it, which is great. And we controlled it more because they're high intensity and I suppose the energy, Keith. If you're looking at them, it's like a side that Mourinho would want to manage, isn't it?
Yeah.
They're so powerful.
Yeah.
They're so it's a real Mourinho. So it's so much raw power in it. Yeah. But I'm just glad they have Upa Meccano at the back, because oh my good God, Bayern want to be looking in after getting the receipt back for him, because he is absolutely malodging.
Yeah, it's a common theme, bashing up a Meccano, and I think he's good. I just think he's one of these that whenever he's on the telly looks shite. So it doesn't help, you know what I mean? It doesn't help his case, but he was pretty bad.
Michele impressed me a lot after.
Well, yeah,
he really stood out with the back 3.
We'll come on to him in a minute because he does make the mistake, but he's a good player as well. He's one that I like. He's a right full for them, but he's about 6'2", 6'3". He's a big unit, and he gets up and down. He just makes a bit of a balls of it, you know what I mean? But look, Dean Regan, thanks for the super chat, Dean. Massive win, lads. Thought Quebec was superb. He was superb, and we will touch on him more later on in the show. So we'll come back to that, Dean. Don't worry. Thanks for the super chat. We'll be talking about Quebec as it goes. Kumar Haidara was my favourite. Haidara was very good. Yeah, Stefan is saying he's Gash Keith for fuck's. I'm assuming that's Upamecano that he's talking about, and not Quebec.
Stefan knows this game.
Yeah, he does know it. Well, that's what he's talking about. You know, if it is right, if he's talking about Quebec, we might have issues. If he's talking about Upamecano, maybe. But look, it's another one here, Mohammed. Thank you, Keith. You can't judge on a few bad games here and there. If there was the logic, Alison would be. Yeah, exactly. Look, we can be reactionary. It's just that Upamecano is a player that
it's more than a few, though, isn't it? Let's be fair.
Yeah, but the way I counter that.
If I'm being honest, we saw Champions League just after, you know, when they did the mini tournaments. He dropped a few bollocks in that, which is ultimately why they got eliminated. Honest to God, it was a shit show at Old Trafford. He made them look like fucking Brazil. Pardon my language, but he did. You know, he seems to be a player that's got that in him. Look, 1-on-1 defending, no problem. He can head it, and he can head anything. You know, the actual defending side was fine. But honest to God, today, when the ball was near his foot, he looked like a hand grenade. Honest to God, I thought he was it was like he was kicking a hand grenade away. He looked scared to death of the ball. And this is the ball playing centre back. And look, I don't watch as much German football and Spanish football as everybody else. I don't claim to. But every time I've seen him play, I just go, he's a good defender. But on the ball, and we're going, I just don't see it. And I'm sort of thinking, like, in bigger clubs where they have a lot of the ball, you'd almost like say to clubs, let him have it. He'd almost like become your weakness. And you know, look, I could be wrong. He's still young, he develop, but for 50 odd million he's going for, whatever it is, not for me.
Yeah, he's you know, Bayern are mad to get him, and they watch him a lot more than we do, you know what I mean? So he's obviously a very, very good player who's very, very highly rated, but in the times maybe we've seen him, he hasn't done well. Kev O'Sullivan said there's a style of play he struggles with, and he's not great versus pressing. And Man United as well, you could say, are the team that look to get it and move it quick. So maybe he's just being shown up in the games that we've watched. But the game goes on, right, and second half is in. Liverpool, they look to be in control, but the first goal comes from a mistake. It's Mo Salah. Paul, I'll come to you. What did you make of the Salah goal?
Yeah, I thought it was, you know, it was just nice to actually see a bit of composure in front of goal after everything in recent weeks, you know. I mean, just to have that presented on a plate, and we've had like similar situations like this happen during this run, and we've not capitalised. Like you were saying before, there's been a lot of pressure and there's been a lot of like really pretty football played, but there's been no end product to it. And it's almost as if we've been trying to walk it into the back of the net because of a little bit of a lack of confidence. So it was just nice to see, it was nice to see the way that it fell, and then just Mo absolutely slot it and just not even think about it. And I think that was the theme for both goals tonight. It was, you know, I know there's a few comments there about like the pressing caused the mistake to happen, and that's all very well and good, but you've still got to put him away, and he put it away with aplomb, and again showed that leadership we were talking about right from the beginning of the show. It's, you know, it's nice for him to, you know, as we were talking about, you know, come out with those kind of sentiments, but to back it up with a goal as well, and such an important goal, an away goal that is going to stand us in very good stead for the second leg, I think is really hugely important.
Indeed it is, Chris. It was a goal that came out of sloppy play by Leipzig, you know, and that you could put that down to the fact that we were sort of putting them under constant pressure. I think it's Sabitzer, is it, that plays a blind ball in behind Klosterman, but it was still a great finish. Mo still had to finish it, you know. Were you impressed with it?
I was, yeah, because I think you and me have both had the same conversation about him and Manny. Is instinctive finishes, I've no problem all day long. When Mo has time to think, when he's not in form, by his standards, you always say he hits it at the keeper every time. You worry about him one-on-one. That's where he's not been doing this year. So that'll do him more the world of good than anything. The fact that it was one he had to think about. It wasn't instinctive. It was one he had to think and and slot it, which was great.
It was one of the first half, Chris.
Yeah. Which he hits straight at the keeper's shoulder. You know, so he's obviously picked up that his keeper goes down, so I need to go low. So he's learned from it. But listen, there is a bit of luck to the goal, but fuck me, we haven't been taking much of this luck whenever we've had it, and we've given that luck to everybody, and everybody's took it. So 100%. I'll be honest, it'll do us the world of good going, well, look, we can be ruthless. And when we won it last year, that's what we were ruthless at. If a team made a mistake, we punished them badly. And you can tell that those sort of goals are a killer for Leipzig, because they'll have the belief that they play quite well, but they've gifted us 2 goals. But also, you've got to take the chance. And the only thing I would have been perfect for that game would have been if Bobby had got one, just to take a bit of pressure on, because he obviously is getting a lot of dislike and hate at the moment from a more vocal section of our fan base now, which some of the criticism is fair, but some of it I do think is over the top. I think he's just the new scapegoat at the moment. But no, I was made up with the goal. I thought he took it really well, and I thought it was finally getting a goal when you're on top, which is something we've not been doing. So yeah, and then I always felt after that they could play into our hands a little bit more of just playing counter-attacking football, which should suit our front three.
Yeah, indeed. Waltzing Matilda throws in a super chat. Thank you very much. Brilliant performance. Looked and felt like ourselves again. Intensity was back. How good is Salah, by the way? Thought Klopp was sitting room at times. And Gar, that's a point, isn't it? Like, with the no fans there, you can really hear the communication between, Jurgen was very vocal tonight. Usually it's Henderson is talking, and you can hear all that. It's quite different. I know we're all used to it at this stage, but it's a different take on the game, isn't it? When you can hear.
What's huge tonight was the amount of language coming out of Klopp at his own players. So really having to know it, lads, at times. Poor Kabak was on the end of a rollicking. A few times with some creative language put in as well. In fairness, you could hear Henderson right beside him. I thought Ozzy Osbourne was playing for us for a second. So Ozzy is obviously the new nickname for him. And we could hear that quite clearly on Irish TV at times. Well done, Ozzy, here and there. So now, in fairness, I have to say I love the now sound being a coach. It's good to see who the leaders are on the pitch. And obviously trying to learn from coaches as well. And I thought Klopp tonight, especially after the pressure guys he's been under, which has been huge, let's be honest here. To hear him having a go at his players so vocally, and that we could hear it so well. It was huge for me tonight to see that this guy is still in the game. He's not going anywhere for the moment, guys. And it was great to see tonight. Listen, I know it's a European win. It's different than the league, but it's a huge win nonetheless, lads. We were so cohesive in our play tonight at times. I know they make 2 mistakes for the goals, but as you just said, Keith, and Chris has said, we've been giving them stupid mistakes, individual mistakes away lately. So it's good to see someone else on the other hand of it.
Yeah, indeed. Another super chat there from Dean Regan. Thiago's best game since the derby for me. And again, Dean, we'll come back to that in a second, because I'm going to chat about the impact of the substitutions, and we'll come on to Thiago about that. But I want to talk about the second goal. So the first goal goes in on 53, I think it is, and then on 58. And Gar, I'm going to stick with you on this. The lads had a chat about the Salah goal. 58, then it happens again. It's Mane that gets in. What did you make of this one?
It's quite like for like, wasn't it? I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't trust him going through. I thought to myself, this is going to hit Galucci's foot or something like that. But again, a lovely finish. Done a couple of times. That finish, he actually did a couple of times last season. He's generally the one that finishes the tighter angles, and but a lovely finish. Keith looked like a player who'd been banging goals in for the whole season, and he hasn't. Yeah. So let's be honest here. That's a major weight off his shoulder, from the last 6 or 7 games for him personally, because he hasn't looked up to himself. It's been Mo that's been sort of carrying us goals with. So that call for him tonight, lads, is absolutely huge.
It is huge, and it's a good point, Gar, because he takes it very well. He opens his body up like he's going to go across the keeper, and then just, wrong foots him and sends him the wrong way. It's not a... we spoke, as you said, about the instinctiveness of Mane and Salah finishing rather than when they're running through. Maybe it's not their strong point, but it was an excellent finish by him. But like that, it's coming from, you know, a sustained period of pressure by Liverpool. We're moving the ball a lot quicker. We're shifting it from side to side. We're moving a very good team. You said it earlier, Gar, very Leeds, like, you know, difficult team to play. And we, as Chris said, they're confident, they're second in the league, and we're moving them around. We were playing well, we were doing some good stuff, and to go in 2-0, I felt it had a similar impact to when we were conceding goals. It was just like a punch in the stomach for them, because we were really in control at that stage of the game. And I'm going to move on now to the double change that happens. I don't think that really happens in between the sort of second goal. Leipzig make a couple of double change themselves. They bring on use of Poulsen as a focal point up front, which is something they were missing, and they bring on Willie Orban from Mukiele after he makes a mistake. Bit harsh, but you know, what can you do? But it's going in, and we are starting to dominate, and Chris, I'll come back to you. We are starting to dominate the game at this point, and THIAGO is looking good. He's in the midfield, he's moving the ball quicker, and what I found with him tonight was he was nicking the ball off the opposition players an awful lot. He wasn't going to ground as much as he did in the Premiership, and he was just getting in, and that's what he does. That's what he's done for Bayern. That's what he used to for Barca. He gets in and he just gets a little toe onto the ball. What impressed with him tonight, as Dean said, his best game since the derby for him.
It was, I would say it was better. You know, I've seen THIAGO play quite a lot, and you're right, that's his defensive game, is front foot, nicking it, not going to ground. You know, it's not really his game going to ground. You know, this is why some of the soft free kicks are coming in. Now, maybe that's just in getting used to the league and all that. My frustration with THIAGO is probably not THIAGO, it's probably the hype around him. And what I mean by is, I think you may have jugged us, he does a 5-yard pass to Gini when he stood next to him. And there's like YouTube clips, like it's the greatest 5-yard pass you've ever seen in your life. And I'm like, that's where I'm a bit like, fuck's sake, no wonder there's pressure on him, because there's always hype for a 5-yard pass. But look, what I liked is, it didn't always come off, was when Upamecano gave it away for the 84th time, what he tried to do was, as soon as because he was first one to it, he was hitting it first time passes, trying to get him through. 2 or 3 came off, 2 or 3 didn't. But that's what he's not been doing for us. And that bit of zip and pace is what we've missed. It's always been one touch, look, go. And I think that's probably what he needs to take into the Premier League a little bit more, is try and do a zip pass, you know, with that little bit more pace. He's got the ability, you know, he can pass it. He can pass it anywhere. His passing range is fantastic. So I agree, it's probably his best game since the derby. But you know, I want to see it back to back. I still think he tires quite quickly, and I don't know if that's an age thing. I don't know if that's just because he's still coming back from injury. But you know, at the end of the day, it's even at 2-0. 2-0 is always a bit of an iffy scoreline, and we still have to take him off and leave the youngster on, Jones, who, fair to play to him, I think is the right decision, because Jones has played well. So look, I think it's promising signs, but I'm expecting more from him, and I'm sure you will see more from him. I think from what I read about THIAGO, from what I understood, was if we had more of a squad that we expected, the plan was always to play Henderson and Fabinho as a 2 and him in front, like he used to for Bayern when they first signed him. He went back into being more of a double 6, but that's where he used to play for Bayern in front of a 2, which would have been perfect. But because we're playing so deep, I still think that's what we should be doing. We should be asking him to be pushing on the most and playing a 2 behind him. It's whether we have the 2 behind him, which has been, I think, is what's causing the issue. We're having to play him deeper than we probably really need him.
Yeah, very true, very true. Paul, I'm going to come to you, right? And I'm not going to let you talk about THIAGO. Well, I will let you talk a little bit about THIAGO. But what we're going to look, so the goal goes in on 58, and then from 64 to 73, there's a load of substitutions that happen, and I think they have an impact on the game. We're in control, I think, up to 2-0. And then, as I said, they make a double change. They bring on Poulsen and Orban. It solidifies them at the back, I think, with Orban going in there. And it gives them a focal point up front. But we make a double change, and it's Shaqiri and Chamberlain come on. THIAGO goes off, and Firmino goes off on 72. And then on 73, they bring on Hwang. What did you feel? Did you feel those subs impacted the game as much as I obviously do, or do you think I'm reading too much into it?
I think there definitely was an impact on it. Because, you know, when you bring on, in particular, when you put Shaqiri on for Firmino, you lose that kind of linchpin in the front three, which allows you to, because when Firmino comes deep and he does the hold the ball up and, he can bring everybody else into the play, you lose that with Shaqiri because he's just not that type of player. And then when you add in the fact that clearly Shaqiri's been in and out of the team, his form's very spotty. And then I think, for me, I think Oxlade-Chamberlain looks like he's just desperate to get a string of not even consecutive games, just consecutive minutes. He's just so short of match sharpness and probably a general overall fitness level, I think, that it was bound to have a negative impact on our control over the game. And like you say, I think especially when Hwang came on, and we all know about Hwang because we saw him play for Salzburg last year. And for me, I'll be completely honest with you, when I saw him play against us last season, I wanted to take him over Minamino, if I'm being completely honest with you. I thought he was the better player.
I wanted both of them. I thought they were both excellent.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I thought he was more standout than Taki was, but obviously he's always going to cause problems in the round. But I do agree with you to an extent, Keith. I think the switches we made, and also in combination with the little shape change that they had with their substitutions, it just led to that little bit of a flat spell where they came back into it a little bit before we managed to kind of manage the game, which again is another big thing that we haven't been doing in recent weeks, and I was pleased to see that.
Yeah, Darren McCusker throws in the super chat. Thanks very much, Darren. We appreciate it. Hendo, good on the ball tonight. Some great passes to Mo and Trent. Was poor defensively though. Positionally awful. They could have scored 3. I think that's maybe, look, everyone's entitled to an opinion, and we certainly on these channels, we don't like to rubbish anyone's opinions, and I'm not going to rubbish your opinion. Maybe we see it a bit differently. I thought he was okay defensively. I thought he won a lot of headers defensively. There was a couple of times maybe they go through. There's the Hwang one, he does go maybe a bit easy, and there's a first half one as well where I'm not forced the second half.
He gets him behind, doesn't he?
And Kunke, was it when Alisson makes the save? I take it on board. He does have a couple of lapses, but I suppose we're going to have to just accept that Jordan Henderson isn't a centre-back, and he's not the first choice midfielder to go into centre-back, so he's so far down the centre-back pecking order that he's not going to be perfect, and he is going to make mistakes. And I suppose we just have to take the rough with the smooth. If the overall package is getting us through where we need to go through, but I do take it on board, his positional sense, and he doesn't have the pace maybe to recover. But I thought he'd done a decent job tonight, and I really thought he was quite good there with Kabak at keeping them out. But look, again, we appreciate the chat and we appreciate the opinions. We won't all agree. We don't all agree.
I thought his interceptions were the best part of his game, especially in the first half. He's very good at. I think that's because he's played like Fabinho, the number 6 role. He's very good at stepping in, just to nick it out, and it does give us, as you've already mentioned, that passing from the back, which we've not had. Fabinho has that in his game, and for some reason he refuses to use it, which is really frustrating. But at the end of the day, lads, we've won away in Europe with from the start of the season now, a centre-back that wasn't in the club, and our second best midfielder, arguably. So we're talking about 5th and 6th choice centre-backs playing here.
Fifth choice centre-back, let's be honest here, because... Yeah,
5th and 6th choice centre-backs.
Gomez, Van Dijk, Matip, probably Fabinho, because you've got the 2 kids after that, you don't even include them, and then you've got Henderson, so he's possibly a 5th choice in Klopp's mind. Yeah, so 5th and 6th choice centre backs, and you're winning 2-0 away in Europe. I think I understand criticism, but I think there's an element of you've got to have a bit of perspective. Now, if it was Gomez and Van Dijk doing that, we'd be well more critical because they have a level of expectation. If Matip was doing that, we'd have a level of expectation. I'm willing to give centre mids playing centre back a little bit of leeway, and a 20-year-old making only his second start for the club and his European debut for us, a little bit of leeway. I understand we're not. I'm not saying it's all sunshine and roses, but I think we just need to be a little bit realistic of where we are.
Yeah, indeed. Paul, I'm going to let you take the next super chat. So, Dean Regan again, thanks very much, Dean. Firmino worries me. He's offering nothing, and it's a conversation that's dividing in the chat by the looks of it tonight. Some people thought he done well, and others maybe agreeing with Dean in this instance. How was your take on it, Paul?
I think it's similar to what we're saying about the centre back situation, isn't it? It's like you've got to Yeah, just to close out on Henderson for a second, it's almost as if like he's a central midfielder playing there. He hasn't played defence for his entire career. Funny that, isn't it? But the thing is, like with Bobby, it's like it comes down to the same thing, that dreaded word, isn't it? Expectations. It's like, what do you expect from Bobby? Like, do you expect him to be drilling goals in left, right, and centre? Then I'm afraid you're going to be very disappointed, because he's just not that type of player. And I think he's been at Liverpool long enough now for us to know and understand that he's not that type of player. What he does well is link the play, and he does all the donkey work, he does all the dirty work, and he sacrifices himself for the team. And also as well, like assists, like how he set Mo up on Saturday. He does that every season, but he only does them once or twice. You know, those little kind of cheeky, cute back heel kind of flicks and, you know, Rabonas back into Salah where he can drill it in, they only happen a couple of times per season. So it depends on how you want to evaluate him as a player. You can't evaluate him on just goals. Like, his overall contribution is way, way more diverse than that. So I get where the criticism comes from, because I'd like to see him score one or two more, probably just for his own confidence more than anything. But I think you have to almost evaluate Bobby on the performances of the other players around him, because he's like Hendo in a way where, you know, Hendo makes everybody else around him play better, and Bobby's exactly the same.
It's very true. It's very true. As Megan McCallion puts in there, Bobby off the ball work was brilliant tonight, I thought. And it's something, maybe the substitution, and it's maybe harsh because Shaq isn't Bobby. You know what I mean?
Different type of player.
Who is?
Exactly. And that's the problem you have. You can't get like for him. So you probably, if you're going to look to bring in someone else, you're going to be looking at a totally different type of player. But anyway, the substitutions, I felt that they did that. It was detrimental to us. And one player that's come in for all the criticism in the world has been Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain. And look, the lad is absolutely stinking the place out at the moment. He cannot catch a break. You know, tonight I think it was one of the worst sort of cameos I've seen from a player in a while. Nothing came off for the lad. Gar, I'll come to you on it. He just couldn't get the ball out from under his feet. He was like he was 2 yards off. Every pass seemed to go straight to the Leipzig players. Is there an issue with Oxlade-Chamberlain, or is he just not? He needs games and he needs minutes, and he's not going to get them in this team at the moment.
Yeah, and I think, you know, our season, the way it started, he's come back from yet another injury. We're in a bad run of form. He's hitting a bad. I think you touched on it earlier. He's over trying. He's trying to do things that he possibly shouldn't be doing in the game. He's probably been asked to break the lines as a midfielder and to carry us forward at times. As you say, he's getting stuck on the ball. There's 2 and 3 players around him. He's losing the ball quite quickly. He's over trying. I think the evolution of the team has probably passed him by a year ago. When he last got injured, I think he's struggled to come back since. A great guy from all we hear, and we see him, you know, regularly on our TV channel, etc. But I think that the evolution of the team has passed him by. He's probably better off going and starting for a side lower in the league, although I can't say that about us at the moment. But no, I think the way things have evolved and the way he's come back from injury and our shit run of form, I think it's all sort of come into it, and it's not helping the lad at all. Like, I think, as I've said, we've evolved, and I think he's dissolved slightly.
Yeah, it's a worry, you know. I like Ox. I think he's a good guy, you know. Yeah. He's getting a bit stick in here. Who said this? Mohammed, was he? He needs to get off Instagram. His videos with his chick. You can't say that anymore. And get to Kirby for double sessions.
Because Instagram posts is what faults your game, innit?
Yeah,
and come on, I'm not being funny. Not to have a go at him, but for Christ's sake, lads, you know, the young men, if they want to go on Instagram and show a picture with the wife or going out, you know, if he comes off Instagram, he's not going to turn into Zidane. You know, and how do you know he's not doing double sessions? He may be doing double sessions. You know, not every player shouts about what they're doing. You know, so Christ, I mean, look, I don't think he was fantastic tonight, but he did create 2 or 3 opportunities where actually the crosses were cut, the players weren't there, and he, you know, it's sometimes he also needs that bit of luck where you put the cross in. If Manny reads the cross like he should do, it's 3-0 and we're all going, oh, what's an Ox, Billy? What a ball. Yeah. Because it didn't come off, and it's not easy coming off as a player. So, and maybe it has evolved in him, but it feels like every game we need a bloody scapegoat. Yeah. If it's Bob, Chamberlain, it's now Chamberlain because Firmino did okay today, so we'll blame Chamberlain. Yeah. But next week we'll go back to Firmino. No, if you ask me on Firmino, I think possibly his time's come to an end at Liverpool, personally. And I don't buy the idea that you can't find another Firmino, because I think Klopp's already looking to tweak the formation and tweak how we play. So I don't think he needs another Firmino. I think he wants something different. Now that difference could be Salah through the middle and a new right winger, or that could be finding his version of a target striker, like a Lewandowski type. Not saying Lewandowski. That might be what you're looking for.
While you touch on that, lads, I think the evolution of the number 9 recently in the last year and a half has become very, very prominent. Lewandowski has obviously been absolutely outstanding. Haaland has, remade that position. The focal point, if you want, of a number 9, because everyone was using that false 9. Let's be honest about it. Everyone was, playing a fluid attack of football. City have a centre mid playing there at the moment, who's banging in goals. So, it's different strokes for different blokes, etc., etc. Mbappe is slightly different in the way he plays, but that number 9 role has really come back to the fore in the last year and a half for big sides. So I think, whilst they're all flying, let's be honest, Calvert-Lewin was doing well at the start of the season. Harry Kane evolves as that player. If we look at the Premiership, Bamford has stood out in that position as an out-and-out number 9. So we're all, that position.
Look at the target number 9 is changing, isn't it? It's going back. That was a dying position and it's come back. But lads, I want to move on to Ramez's super chat. Thanks very much, Ramez. Mo Salah, the only constant in this time of bad form. Bobby gets into good positions, can't finish. Sadio scores finally. I guess Hendo and Kabak it is. Look, it was a good performance. I think, he hits the nail on the head with the front three there, in my opinion, and it was great. But before we finish up, lads, I just want to talk about, again, a bit of criticism on Irish TV came for Alisson and came for Kabak, where they weren't really impressed. Richie Sadlier and Damien Duff weren't overly impressed with them and thought there was enough errors and things in that. Alisson first, lads, he doesn't look as confident with the ball at his feet, but will come through the other side. It's not like a goalkeeper who's making mistakes with his hands and letting easy ones go in. He's actually making great saves in these games. Leicester, he made a great save, a double save. It was absolutely fantastic. And tonight he makes the Nkunku save. Brilliant. So it's a bit harsh, the Alisson criticism. But they also felt Kabak Damien Duff said he'd send them back. There's no way Liverpool will be paying 18 million for him. Yeah, going back on the boat. I thought it was a bit harsh. I thought Kabak done very well.
It's 2 games. Jesus Christ, man.
But it was something. And Paul, I'll come to you. How did you find Kabak's performance?
I thought he was great. Honestly, I picked Gar's point up, definitely, that the recovery pace isn't quite there yet. I think he's still learning the defensive system. But I was actually just saying to someone the other day, I really like Kabak long term, because I think he gives us something that none of the other defenders have got. Yeah. Where, Van Dijk is the quintessential Rolls Royce, if you will, if you want to roll out that cliche. And Joe Gomez is like a kind of a mini Van Dijk waiting to happen, because he does play very similarly to him. And, Matip's a ball playing centre off when he's not made of biscuits. And, Fabinho's what he is, do you know what I mean? And, obviously you could talk about Ben Davies. I think it'll be very, very seldom you'll ever see him in a Liverpool shirt, quite frankly. I think he's a body to stop Nat Phillips and Reece Williams having to be put into a red shirt again to protect them. I think he's a last resort break glass for me. But Kabak, he's just... I know there's the reputation with him, because obviously he's had the 5-game ban and he's come with this little bit of a rebellious kind of streak. But I just think he's got a bit of an arrogance about him. and he's just got a little bit of an ag, and I think he looks like he could handle himself, and he could be a bit nasty when he needs to be. And I think that's something that we've needed, that little bit of needle at the back, a centre-half who can look after himself, clearly backs himself because he's got that kind of, and again, I don't want to resort to kind of like, you know, nationalistic stereotypes here, but he's got a bit of that Turkish kind of like, you know, that kind of, you know, that thing that Emre Can had, but like Emre Can couldn't back it up. You know, he's got that little bit of, like, want of a better expression, he's got a bit of machismo about him almost, do you know what I mean? And I really like that, and I think it's really going to benefit us long term. So as he learns the system and as he gets his recovery pace up, I think he's going to do really, really well. I really like the look of the kid.
He's only 20 years old. I think he can be
20
moulded.
again, yeah.
You know, I think he can be moulded. I compared him to when we signed him, we done a show, and I compared him to a mix between Skrtel and Lovren, and he's looking that way at the moment, and that doesn't sort of fill you with confidence, but it's the sort of the good points nearly. You know, he's tough in the tackle like Skrtel is, and he sort of wants to be front foot like Lovren. Now, if he can just build on the positive sides about it, then could be a good player. Obviously, we automatically jump to the negatives, but however, you know. But look, lads, I won't get your other takes on Kabak tonight because you might think he was man of the match, so I want to move on. Just before we get to that, Hwang misses a good chance at the end, which would have put pressure on the second leg. But 2-0 is a great result for the Reds away in Europe. Make no bones about that. So, Chris, I'll come to you. Man of the match, who do you feel was your standout tonight?
The easy answer is Salah, but I'm going to give it to Jones. I think I think for a 20-year-old lad, Champions League round of 16, I thought he did a very mature performance that has been claimed he hasn't got in his game. So I'll give it to the young lad. I thought Curtis Jones did really well.
Yeah, great show. Gar, what about yourself? Man of the match?
Yeah, I'm afraid I have to back Chris up on this. For me, lads, a huge thing tonight that stood out was his positional intelligence for a 20-year-old kid who's played, you know, a handful of games. Trent has drifted off right up to, you know, as we want him to play in the last few games, and Jones was always there to cover him, which was huge for me. It was great to see that he's developing that side of his game as well. And for what he's done on the ball and his work rate, etc., I thought he was excellent to me.
Good stuff. And Paul, what about yourself?
I'm going to go for Gini Wijnaldum, because I just thought his work rate was absolutely off the scale. And you consider what he's done for us this season and in seasons past, and how he just never stops. And like, yeah, all right, last couple of games, it looked like he was running through treacle, like you said. But tonight, he was intense, he was there, he was pressing, he was winning the ball, he was making loads of little intelligent passes. And I think that was the performance that we built the back of this win off.
Yeah, excellent. I agree. They were all good performances there. Curtis and Gini were excellent in midfield. I'm going to go for Kabak myself because I think it was a very mature performance. I think it was, while he doesn't have a lot of pace, he reads a lot of it, and he was trying to snuff out a lot of the danger, which I was impressed with. And to have a natural centre back there, I think will benefit us in the rest of the season. Now, that could all go to shit after a few games. He could make a few mistakes, but genuinely, I thought he was decent against Leicester without being great. And I think he stepped it up again tonight, and then we'll go into the derby, and hopefully he can build on that, you know. And if he can build on that sort of performance, I think there's a player there that can be moulded and would be one I would certainly, if he continues to perform. Obviously he's only had 2 games and we got spanked in one of them, but if he continues to try and perform and build his game, I think he'd really be a shrewd signing for us. So it's one to watch there, you know. So look, lads, I'm going to leave it at that. But before we finish up, I just want to give a shout out to the raffle that Gav had organised and a few people had helped them with. I know Kieran Thorne was heavily involved as well. For Keane, the young lad that needs the money, I think he was only 6 months old, and he got brain cancer, and he's only 1 now, and it's costing a lot of money, obviously, to help him with his treatment. And we put a month's deadline on the tickets, 499 tickets, and I think they sold out in something like 6 days. It was absolutely amazing. Everyone got in and helped out, which was brilliant. And the tweet went out today. The money was transferred into the account. It was over 3,000 went in, which was brilliant for the tickets alone. That's without any sort of donations and things that we've been getting. That was just on the ticket sales from this alone. So it really, anyone that's contributed, or not even, you didn't have to have bought a ticket. If you shared the message, or anyone that done anything, it's really appreciated. And Gar, I know that the parents, that the father was on, and he was really appreciative of the effort that we put in. And not that it matters, but I think his father's a Manchester United fan. And
I was only going to say, was they allowed to mention that? He did say it on the tweet, and I think, it's in fairness to him, on the tweet he replied back that day. He said it came will definitely be brought to Anfield one day. So
yeah, and these are the sort of things that clubs don't. Football doesn't matter, you know what I mean? But it was an excellent bit of, I think, Gav really pushed it, and it's still pushing it. It has to be said, he's still pushing the agenda. It's not like it's over now because we've done that, but it was brilliant done. 3,400 raised. Well done to all involved, as Kev O'Sullivan said. It was brilliant. Emma Kavanagh do the draw and start up another one. Look, another thing I want to give a shout out is footballprizes.co.uk, who facilitated the draw and the prizes and the raffle and all that sort of stuff. They done that, and they gave all that money over to the charity. They done really good job in helping with the whole work on that, and it was just a great job all around. But I know Gav doesn't like to talk, he does like to talk about it, but he doesn't like to take any of the credit for himself, and he really deserves it because he really pushed it. And Gar will know this, he's pushed it for the whole time, and he's constantly said it in WhatsApp groups and all that. He's really passionate about this, and it's just the first step on helping, and we're glad we could help. And everyone who played a part, I just want to say thank you very much. So look, lads, we're going to leave it at that tonight. It's been a good win for the Reds away in Europe, 2-0, great result. When is the next leg? Does anyone know? Is it
3 weeks time?
3 weeks time.
3 weeks, yeah.
3 weeks time. They'll be tougher in the away leg. Hopefully we'll be tougher on the away leg, but on our home leg, hopefully we'll wait and see. But look, it's a win. It's nice to talk about a win. It's nice to talk about a win with a good performance. And we'll be back then. There's a midweek fix on tomorrow. Myself, Gav, Grizz and Jamie, I think, on that one. And then Thursday could be a carnage, and then the Friday fix. So again, busy shows all week. Thanks for the continued support, everyone. We do appreciate it. And I just want to thank the lads for coming on. Gar, thanks for giving me your time tonight.
Thank you, Pat. Anytime.
Good stuff. Chris, always a pleasure to have you on these shows lately.
Cheers, thanks for having me on again, mate.
No worries. And Paul, great to see you again.
Thank you very much, mate. Much appreciated. Always a pleasure.
Good stuff. This has been the Red Reaction Show. We've been the Daytrippers, and we'll see you all again soon.